Features.
Hello and welcome to the Boxing Features Preview Show, the weekly series where I take a look at the biggest fights for the upcoming weekend of boxing. Once again, it's an absolute stacked weekend of boxing, so without further ado, let's get to the fights.
Boxing Features.
We're starting off with the MTK show Friday the 19th of March 2021 at the Bolton White Hotel, and it's Karim GUERFI versus Lee McGregor for the EBU European Bantamweight title. And finally, hopefully, it's going to happen. It's been rescheduled multiple times over the past year and a bit, I believe, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Karim GUERFI is a really, really solid European level opponent, like one of them old school European level opponents. At the minute, we get a lot of below or over European level opponents, so it's good to have a really solid European level opponent in Karim GUERFI. And if you look at his record here, he's 29-4-0, and just look at his 1-3 on the bounce. Last loss was in 2018 against Michael Dasmariñas, and we'll keep having a look down. Win. So he loses to a high level opponent, and he's got some solid wins on his record. But Lee McGregor is one of my favourite bantamweights at the minute. He's my favourite bantamweight in the UK, and I think he's really, really talented and supremely skilled, and he's still only 24. He's going to need to make a lot of improvements, but he is a type of fighter that is constantly improving. If we just look, he had that absolute humdinger against Kash Farouk, which people were saying that he lost that fight. I discussed this in a previous video. It was really close for me. He's had one fight since then in 2020, so he's had a fight since the pandemic, and that was against Ryan Walker. Run out for him, and now he's fighting for the European title, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. The co-feature on the MTK show is Maxi Hughes versus Paul Hyland Jr. for the vacant British lightweight title. Really like this one. Think it's going to be a really solid domestic fight. We've got Maxi Hughes. Maxi Hughes calls that upset win over John O'Carroll last year in one of the first fight nights since the pandemic. He's had one fight since then against Victor Kotichkov, and we saw him last week getting knocked out by Gary Cully, and this weekend he is fighting Paul Hyland Jr. Really looking forward to it. Chance for him to get his hands on the British lightweight title. We look at Paul Hyland Jr. He's 20 wins with 2 losses on his record. His 2 losses come to Francesco Beterbiev last time out, and in 2018 against Lewis Ritson. Obviously, we all know Lewis Ritson. Really looking forward to this one. Really am looking forward to this one. And it's a really solid MTK card. It could be one of the best they've done for a while, actually, because these MTK cards are growing rapidly. And we just look elsewhere on the undercard. We've got Padraig McCrory, Shabazz Massoud. Looking forward to seeing Shabazz Massoud out, actually. JB Robinson, Eric Apresian, and Sean Duffy. It's really solid, isn't it? And we see these prospects who aren't getting on these big Sky or BT shows getting out, and I'm for one always up for that, because we get to see it on IFL TV, free for us in the UK to watch on YouTube. That is Friday night, I should assume from 7:30 or 7 o'clock. Make sure you watch it. Next, we're going to quickly talk about this huge show in Belgium, and one name that pops out to me is Eric Donovan. Eric Donovan was in fight camp last year, and I think he blew everyone away with his efforts against Zelfa Barrett, and his sheer determination and his chin and his heart. Absolutely fantastic, and I fell in love with Eric Donovan, I can't lie. His story, everything about him in the build up to the fight against Zelfa, I just loved. I honestly loved. And obviously he got knocked out by Zelfa in round 8. That was a brutal knockout, wasn't it? And he's had one win since then, again in Belgium, and now he's fighting Jamie Quinn, who is 7, 106 and 2. So fingers crossed, this hopefully should be a solid night's work for Eric Donovan, and I want to see him in a big fight again because he had so much to offer, didn't he? And I'm really looking forward to following his career. He's 35 years of age, but he spent a long time out of the ring because he actually gave up boxing, and then he come back to it a few years later and turned pro. Can't wait to see more of Eric Donovan. Big fight time now, and it is Artur Beterbiev versus Adam DEINES, and I can't wait to see Artur Beterbiev get back out. He hasn't fought since his big unification win over Alexander Glowacki, and I feel really sorry for Beterbiev because, for me, after he beat Glowacki, he was potentially pushing for a pound-for-pound top 5. For me, he was definitely in the top 10, easily. But I think he's just lost a lot of momentum due to the pandemic, and he hasn't fought. He's 36 now, isn't he? And he needs to get out and get some big fights in. I'm hoping this should be a relatively not easy night's work. It's never an easy night's work in boxing, but I think he will comfortably beat DEINES. I haven't seen too much of him, but DEINES is a big underdog, obviously fighting for Beterbiev's WBC and IBF light heavyweight titles. I'm just looking forward to seeing Beterbiev get out and hopefully set himself up for a massive fight in the back end of this year. It's in Russia. It's taking place on Saturday night. There's some big names on the undercard. It's a big show Top Rank's putting on with the Russian promoters. We've got Abdugafurov and Besputin. We got Agbar. Good solid card. I'll certainly be watching this one because I like to see the Russian names we don't hear of so often. But it's a chance to see some world-class boxing on a bill in a country where we wouldn't usually watch, being UK fight fans. We'll go over to Texas now, and this is a lovely little fight that's really gone under the radar, certainly in the UK for me. We've got Virgil Ortiz Jr., top young talent contender prospect. I don't know where you put him in that prospect or contender category now because he is so good, so good. Got that win over Samuel Vargas last time out against former world champion Maurice Hooker. Great fight. Come on, this is a really good fight. Could be a cracker, this one. We've got Maurice Hooker. He's fought once against Uriel Perez since he's lost in a unification fight against Jose Carlos Ramirez, who we all know is fighting Josh Taylor in the end of May. Great fighter, Maurice Hooker, who's, again, he's gone under the radar. He's got big wins over Terry Flanagan, Alex Salcedo, and now he's got the opportunity to stop Virgil Ortiz, become this huge star that is being presented to us as fans. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is being presented to us as the next big thing, and I've been so impressed by him, I must admit. 16 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws, all 16 wins coming by way of knockout, and it's a huge step up. Maurice Hooker, former world champion, and I don't know. Obviously, Maurice Hooker was a world champion in the super lightweight / light welter weight division, and he's moving up for the vacant WBO international welterweight title to fight Ortiz Jr. I don't know. I don't have a clue how this fight's gonna play out, but I'll certainly be tuning in to DAZN on Saturday night to be watching it. We'll finish off with the big UK Sky Sports show this week. Chance for another British world champion in Lawrence Okolie when he fights Krzysztof Glowacki for the vacant WBO World Cruiserweight title. And what can I say? Apart from this fight is meant to happen a couple of times now. Fingers crossed it actually happens. I think it will now. Lawrence Okolie, it's his chance. It's his opportunity to be great, isn't it? And we'll come on to it. We'll look at the undercard because big show Saturday night. Big matchroom show. Look at that. We've got Ellie Scottney. She's back out. Really impressed with her debut. Ramalia Ali versus Bet Conley. That's a good fight. That's a really good fight, that is. Bet Conley, we'll look at her record now. She's 3 wins and 8 defeats, but she's a really solid opponent. Obviously, she lost to Ellie Scottney in her debut, and Rachel Ball, Natasha Jonas, Carly Skelly, so Terry Harper. So you look at that group of elite British female fighters, she's been in there with nearly all of them. Granted, she hasn't beat them, but it's a great fight for Ramla Ali to get into so early in the career. Little cool career, recently added to the card. Bradley Ray versus Lee Cutler. Keep an eye out for that one. That could be a nice little scrap, that one. Joe Cordina, one of my favourite young British talents, back after a long layoff due to injury against Farrukh Kurbanov, and I just hope Joe Cordina does the business, hopefully early on, so we can crack on to the big fights this year. I want to see him in a world title fight, certainly in the early parts of next year, because he is just talent on a plate, isn't he? I love Joe Cordina. Make no mistake about it. He's got to be more active. I've said that a couple of times now on the channel. I know he's had an injury, but he needs to crack on now. He needs to get down to business and fast, He isn't getting any younger. Anthony Fowler in a decent fight against Jorge Fortea for the WBA International Super Welter title. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Anthony Fowler out. He wants that Scott Fitzgerald fight in the summer. We need to see Scott Fitzgerald back out in a run out before that fight, because Fitzgerald has suffered with huge inactivity and personal problems. But that fight is still huge for me, the Fowler-Fitzgerald rematch. But he can't look past Jorge Fortea. Fortea is a really solid European level fighter, in my opinion. He's got 2 losses on his record, but he's got some decent wins, to be fair. And it's one of them fights, if Fowler's not switched on for the whole fight, and if he doesn't take this fight too seriously, then he could be punished. And we don't want to see that, because Fowler's got some huge fights ahead of him if he carries on winning. Fitzgerald, we spoke about last week, that fantastic fight with Austin Ammo Williams that I pray gets made, because that is just a hell of a fight. Maybe even Ammo Williams against the winner of Fowler Fitzgerald 2. Can't wait to see where Fowler goes, but he's got to get past Jorge Fortea this Saturday. Then it's Chris BILLAM-SMITH versus Vasyl DUCAR for the vacant WBA Continental Cruiser title. And I slightly feel for Chris BILLAM-SMITH. He was meant to have in that fight against Dion Juma, which would have been a hell of a fight, by the way. But he pulled out once again, and he's now fighting Vasyl DUCAR. He's 9-3-1. But, as I said, we don't want this to be a banana skin for Chris BILLAM-SMITH. Chris BILLAM-SMITH, for my money, is such an improved fighter since that fight against Richard Riakporhe, which was incredibly close. It was a split decision loss, by the way. And I think that night, if I remember correctly, I judged that a draw. Since then, he's beat Craig Glover. I was at that fight. Really good performance. Thoroughly impressed. And Nathan Fawley, where he destroyed Nathan Fawley at Fight Camp. And again, a really vital year for Chris BILLAM-SMITH. He's 30 years of age. He's going to be wanting to move up in the calibre of opponent. And it's one that's really tough to match, because he's an awkward and powerful fighter. So Eddie Hearn's got a job on his hands here. But if he comes through this Saturday night, you're going to be wanting to look where he goes from now. And for my money, he needs to get out at least 2 more times this year. Another fight in the summer, 3 times ideally, but he wants to definitely get out in the summer. Then in the latter parts of this year, big fight, please. Big fight, please. Main event time, and the last fight on this week's preview show. It's Lawrence, the Source Okolie versus Krzysztof Glowacki. WBO Cruiserweight title. It's going to be good, isn't it? I'm nervous. I'm really nervous for Lawrence Okolie because Glowacki is a great world-class fighter. We just look, his only 2 losses come to that in Maris Bradis, which was like really a weird fight, wasn't it? It was a weird fight. And Alexander Usyk. So come on, like they are the 2 World Boxing Super Series winners. They are 2 Muhammad Ali trophy recipients, and he's got that big win against Maxim Vlasov, who is a great name on his record. Great name. And Steve Cunningham, Marco Huck. Oh my God. It's going to be hard for Lawrence Okolie. Let's see what he's made of. It's a huge step up for Okolie. It's his hardest fight by far in probably amateur and professional career. I can't wait because Okolie looks so dominant. He looks so awkward. He looks like he has the ability to beat anyone. He looks too big for anyone in the cruiserweight division. But we haven't seen someone who can dog him. If anyone can dog him, and if anyone get on the inside and get in with some more body shots, some uppercuts, because that is what's needed against Lawrence Okolie. And obviously I hope they don't, because I want another British world champion. But I'm nervous for Okolie. I am, because Glowacki is really good. And I think some fans are underestimating Glowacki, because Glowacki is a brilliant fighter, brilliant. And we just look, obviously Okolie's been moved extremely fast since the Olympics and turning pro. He's got some decent names on his record. He's got even Gaibu. I was at that fight. Wadi Camacho didn't really pose too much of a threat that night. Matty Askin, I was also at that fight, unfortunately. Sorry, Lawrence. But he showed something else, didn't he, against Glowacki on the undercard of AJ Pulev at the back end of last year. I don't know whether that was because Glowacki was a lesser opponent, because he is a lesser opponent than Glowacki, but he showed that he was willing to engage in a fight, Okolie, and he wasn't just assuming that he could beat someone by leaning on them, being the stronger, bigger, more dominant fighter. And I think that's a big part that Shane McGuigan has added to his game, and he's been vocal in saying he wants Lawrence Okolie to be more entertaining. He wants him to engage in that fight, because Lawrence Okolie is an incredibly powerful fighter. And if he beats Glowacki on the weekend, the world is his oyster. Eddie Hearn said he wants to unify, get all them 4 belts, and then move up to heavyweight. We could have a potential megastar on our hands. Imagine if he does that in 4 fights. Personally, I don't think he will, because it'd be incredible if he did. We don't see it at all or often. But he could, and that's the thing, because we don't actually know Okolie, what level Okolie is, and if he can beat Glowacki, he can certainly unify the division. Especially because we don't know what's going on with these belts, whether Brady is moving up, whether Brady is vacating the titles, or he could fight Brady's, and big nights, big fights ahead. Let's hope Okolie does the job on Saturday night.
Boxing features.
That's all for this week's Boxing Features preview show. Thank you for watching. Make sure you watch this weekend's boxing. And as ever, like, share and subscribe for plenty more Boxing Features content. We've got the Boxing Features preview show coming to you every Friday. We've got the Boxing Features review show coming to you every Monday. We've got a new series, the Best of series. And we've got so many mini documentaries, we've got top 10 list, so much boxing content coming your way in the next couple of weeks. So hit that subscribe button, share with your friends, and as ever, thank you for watching.
Boxing features.